When we talk about the dairy industry, it's not just the farms. It's all those other people that make it work. And you won't find better people than in the agriculture industry. So even if you don't have your own farm or whatever, just getting one of these jobs in the industry is like, it's amazing because you're gonna get to deal with all these amazing people. So I'm Karen Versloot. I'm from Keswick Ridge, New Brunswick, and the name of our farm is Combination Holsteins. I actually just started kayaking a few years ago, and so my friends and I will go in the summer a few times. We'll go on little trips, or we'll go hiking. And in the winter, I like to go cross-country skiing. I was born and raised in Fredericton. I had a friend when I was younger who had a dairy farm, and whenever I went to her house, I thought she had the best life, and she hated it. She wanted to be in town, so she'd come visit me in the summer and loved it, and I'd come visit her and I loved it there. So then the way it just worked out, I married a dairy farmer and then moved to Keswick, and then that's the only thing I've ever done is dairy farming. So we got married in 1994, and then we had 4 children. And so when they were between the ages of 4 and 12, my husband actually died in a car accident. So then I had these 4 kids plus this farm. I guess we could have just sold out at that point and done something else. But so I thought, well, I have 2 girls and 2 boys, and if any one of them wants to farm, I want it to be an option for them. So through a lot of determination and whatever, we managed to keep it going for all those years. And now my oldest daughter is a mechanical engineer, but my second child, is my son, is planning on taking over the farm, and he's there working full-time now. And then now the latest thing is my youngest son also wants to take over the farm, so it's good. I found just living up in the city, it was never for me. You have your house and your little lot and whatever, but you don't even know your neighbors that are all around you. And that's what I found once I moved out to the country. It's like everybody knew everybody. It was like a much bigger family. It was just a better lifestyle that I liked, and it was just more who I am. And so I could never ever go back. My father-in-law, he came over from Holland in the 50s, and he started this farm, and he literally came here with $50 in his pocket. And so my in-laws worked hard. They had 7 children. They only had one that wanted to take over the farm, so we took it over. I didn't love it because I'm more of a doer, and I didn't enjoy just sitting there. I just didn't enjoy going on the bus, going to school, sitting there, listening to the teacher. And that's why the farming was much better for me, because I know some people love their office job and they really excel at them, but it was never ever something for me. I need to be outside and being active. Well, I think what you need to think about at that age, and it's hard, but that point of your life is short. So even though you're not loving it, you do need to get some education so that you can get a job for later on in life. And I know it's hard when you're only, let's say you're 16 or 17, trying to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. But what I told all my kids was, go to school. If you don't like it, after grade 12, go to university, whatever. If you don't like it, you can always switch. And that just seemed to take a huge weight off their shoulders, because my oldest daughter is a mechanical engineer, and she was like, well, what if I don't like it? What if it's not me? I said, then change into something else. It's not a big deal. It's no shame in changing what you want to do. If you ask a lot of adults now what they're doing now and what they wanted to do when they were younger, it's not the same thing. So we get up around 4:30, 4:45. We just get up, get dressed, grab a coffee, we go out to the barn. We on our farm, we milk around 90 cows, and so it takes about 2 hours. So we go in, we start milking. There's 2 people, so one starts milking, and then the other one will, there's some calves in the barn too, so we take away the old feed, give them new feed. So we do all the feeding and milking. Usually done by about 7. Then we go in and have breakfast, and then after that, the rest of the day can be anything. You could be, if it's in the summer, you're probably out in the field doing work out there. Otherwise, you're fixing things. It's just whatever needs to be done that day. And then in the afternoon, around 3 o'clock, we go back, we start feeding again, and then at 4 we start milking, and then we're done usually around 6. But in the summertime, we're not done at 6 because we go till it's dark, making feed, making the silage and hay and whatever. Yeah. So the routine is nice, but on the other hand, between those times, between the morning and afternoon chores, anything could happen. Most people have a job and they're like, okay, I work from this time to this time, and when I'm done, I'm done. I go home and that's it. This is like you're around the clock on call for whatever could happen at any time. And they're calving at different times of day, so you have to be ready for that. And like, it's just a 24/7 type of a thing. I would say the days that we're like working hands-on with the cows. So like when the vet comes once a month and he checks them to see who's pregnant, who's not. 2 or 3 times a year, there's someone who comes from Ontario and they score the cows. They give them all points. And basically the higher points they get, the better they are probably going to be for like longevity and like milking and all those things. So whenever the Holstein Canada classifier comes, I find that one of the most exciting days, because we get them all ready to look the best they can, and then they tell us the scores. So I always enjoy that. I just like working really hands-on with the cows the most. Now some people are going to say they love the cropping the most, and that's the thing about farming. You're always going to have some guys that are like, oh, and I love milking. And some people are like, oh, I put in robots because I hate milking. But I love it because it's so hands-on with the cows. So anything that you're working with the cows, but some guys will say, oh no, I love being out in the field. I love doing the tractor work. I don't love the tractor work. So I think as long as your farmers, you have a good balance. This one loves the cows, this one loves the tractor work. So just give everyone the job they like the most. Like when we talk about the dairy industry, it's not just the farms, it's all those other people that make it work. There's feed reps, there's all kinds of different salespeople, there's vets, there's bankers, there's so many different people that we deal with that don't necessarily have a farm. The people in the agriculture industry, I can only speak on behalf of dairy, but I think it's for most agriculture, those are real people, you know, because they work so hard, and everything that they do, all their money, all their time, all their resources go into their farm. And you won't find better people than in the agriculture industry. So even if you don't have your own farm or whatever, just getting one of these jobs in the industry is like, it's amazing, because you're going to get to deal with all these amazing people. Well, see, so my father-in-law from day one, he was so good because he saw that I was interested in it, and he taught me so much. Like he taught me, and that's like, I know there, like my boys went to the agricultural college in Truro, and they took a 2-year program to learn all the different aspects of dairy farming. And it's good for them to do that. And then my son went and he worked on another farm for 1.5 years because he thought that's where he's going to learn so much, is if he works on another farm, then he's can learn a lot just being on a farm. But you can also learn a lot by going to school. So I guess the only thing I hesitate about, if you only go back to your home farm, that's the only type of farming you're ever going to learn about too. But if you go to school or you go to other farms, you're going to see how other people do things, and you might learn a lot more. Between the government and different organizations, there's lots of workshops. You can always go to different workshops where you can learn about the latest in feeding, in breeding, in cropping. Like, dairy farming has evolved so much over the years, and it's going to keep going that way. So even if you didn't go to a post-secondary, there's lots of opportunities out there for you to keep on learning. Dairy farming is always evolving, it's always changing. We're learning new things. Like when I think back to 20 years ago, how we did things to how we do them now, so much has changed. There's a lot when it comes to technology. So, you know, it used to be that you milked your cows, like you'd have a tie stall barn and you walked to each one and you would milk them. Then they made parlors, so that's what we have. So the cows come in, we can milk 12 at a time. But the latest thing is these milking robots, and they've been around for a little while. But when you have a robot or multiple robots, you don't even, like, the cow goes to the robot, gets milked, and then carries on. Like, there's no hands on there. And it's nice for the cow because it doesn't disrupt her daily routine. She just goes to the milker when she wants to. So the robots have been a big game changer for some people. It's getting hard to find people to work on farms. And then if you're tied down every single day, and then you don't have time for anything else. So the robots has been a game changer for some farms. But there's always, when it comes to cropping, there's always new initiatives coming in, new techniques, new ways to do things. I think it's getting better, but there was a time when, you know, you see all this stuff on social media about us abusing our animals and, you know, not treating them well. But what I want people to understand is the better that cow is treated, the more milk she's going to give, right? So it's in my best interest to make sure she's as comfortable as she can be. And we work really hard. Like, we're always trying to find ways and spend money. Like, how can we make her more comfortable when she's laying down, when she's walking around and whatever? Because if she's healthy and comfortable, she's going to milk better, be more profitable. Unfortunately, there's been some things on social media that didn't depict that. And so then I think people thought, well, that's how it is everywhere. But that's not how it is everywhere. There's very, 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 very small percentage where things like that might happen. There's a program now with Dairy Farmers of Canada. It's called ProAction. We all have to do it if we want to ship milk. And there is a long list of things that we have to do. Some of it is just paperwork. They can keep track of what the animals are being treated, when they are leaving your farm, where they're going to, so they can keep track of all those things. So we all work pretty hard to try to make sure that we're at a pretty high standard for keeping the animals comfortable and for shipping safe milk. It's getting more and more. And that's the thing. When I started, I think a lot of people thought that it was weird that I was working on the farm because there wasn't as many back then. But I never ever cared, I guess, what other people thought. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And you see it more at meetings too. It used to be you'd go to these meetings and there was 100% men. And I'm on, for Holstein Canada, I'm on a national board of directors, and there's 12 of us. And I'm one of 3 women, but for years there was no women on that board. So, and there's a lot of organizations like that, like our Dairy Farmers of New Brunswick board has been men for years. There is a woman on there now. The women are they're really starting to find their role, and you see more women now that actually are the owners. Now, it takes a while to those misconceptions, right? Because I've had people come to the farm that just right away go, well, is your husband home? And I said, well, if you want to do business, you need to talk to me. So, but I think people are starting to learn that, it's not just a man's world anymore. And the women do a great job on the farm because they're so they just have that natural caring and nurturing and whatever. So they're doing a great job. So the way it works in Canada is we have the quota system, so we have a supply management system. So you have to buy quota, and then you are guaranteed that you'll get paid for that milk. So it's a wonderful system. I hope we never ever have to change it. But what that means is my milk gets picked up by the Dairy Farmers of New Brunswick, and it goes, and then once it leaves my property, I have nothing to do with it anymore. They take it and it will go, sometimes it goes to Quebec, sometimes it goes to different places in New Brunswick. It just depends where the milk is needed. The dairy industry is so complex. I don't even know everything there is to know. My husband now, he has been the chairman of Dairy Farmers of New Brunswick, so I've learned a lot through him. The milk truck comes every 2 days. He picks up all the milk, and then it goes to wherever it's needed, and then we get paid by Dairy Farmers of New Brunswick. It's amazing. It doesn't matter how many years you dairy farm for, you could be doing it your whole life, but whenever an animal is born, you always, the calf comes out, and you always just stand there and stare at it for a while. And it doesn't matter if you've seen it a million times. It's something really special about the fact that that calf was just born and it's perfect. There's something about, planting the seed and watching the crops grow and then putting it in and then realizing you put in a really good product. Oh, that means now the cows are gonna milk really well. We're gonna make lots of milk that's gonna go in the tank. We're gonna have a good paycheck. When all those things all come together, it's really satisfying to see it. The more you put into it, you'll see those results come back. So that's the part I don't know, I just enjoy it, and I just love being in between the cows. It's something that's hard to explain maybe unless you're doing it too.